I'm very happy that I have been asked to speak a few words about Venerable Anagarika Dharmapala. Srinathan Nayakatero, Kondanyatero, other Nayakateros and members of the Mahasangha. Anagarika Dharmapala was born on 17th of September in 1864. He belonged to a very wealthy and aristocratic family. His father was Mudlia Don Karolis Hevavitarna. His mother was Mallika Hevavitarna. He had two younger brothers, one Dr. Charles and other one Edmund Hevavitarna. At the time he was born, it was customary to give English names because at that time Sri Lanka was a British colony named Ceylon. So Anagarika Dharmapala, when he was born, was given the name David. The schools at that time were missionary schools. There were very few government schools, but the vast majority were missionary schools belonging to the Roman Catholic and Protestant churches. And in these schools, the medium of instruction was English. And what was taught was Christianity. Sinhala and Buddhism were not taught. Anagarika Dharmapala, this young David, from very early age was very analytical in nature, and he sort of imbibed a Buddhist Sinhala cultural outlook. Because of that, he could not accept what was taught in the Christian schools because for him they appeared very dogmatic. He learned Sinhala and Buddhism from two very eminent Buddhist monks. They were Venerable Migettuvatte Gunananda, sometimes called Mohottivatte Gunananda Nayakatero, and Hikkaduwe Sri Sumangala Nayakatero. He attended some of the best schools at that time. He had his primary education at St. Benedict's College, Kotahena, then Christian College, Kotte, St. Thomas's College in Mutwal, which later became Mount Lavinia, and Colombo Academy, the Royal College. In his life, at early stage, there were four people who contributed to the molding of his character, of his career. They were the two Nayakateros, Migettuvatte Gunananda Nayakatero and Hikkaduwe Sri Sumangala Nayakatero, and Colonel Olcott and Madam Blavatsky. Colonel Olcott arrived in Colombo in May 1880. He and Madam Blavatsky proceeded to Gaul, where at Vijayananda Vihara in Valivatta, Gaul, they observed Panchasila, the 5 precepts. Later, they came to Colombo, and they were received by a group of distinguished Sri Lankans, including Mudlia Don Karolis Hevavitarn. This was the first time that young David met Colonel Olcott. He was 16 years old. From that time, he considered Olcott as his mentor, but later they became companions. After leaving school, young David worked in a government office for 3 years. During this time, he of course worked with Colonel Olcott mainly as a translator. And he was also encouraged to study Pali by Madame Blavatsky. After leaving government service after 3 years, he joined Colonel Olcott and Madame Blavatsky in their activities. Now in 1882, 2 years after Colonel Olcott came to Sri Lanka, he established what was called Buddhist Theosophical Society, commonly called BTS. At the time Olcott came, there wasn't a single Buddhist school in Sri Lanka. In 1907, when he passed away, there were 215 Buddhist schools. Most of the leading schools like Anand, Naland, Maind, Dharmaraja, Dharmasoka, or Malyadeva, all these schools were set up by BTS. And also, these schools produce some of the very distinguished Sri Lankans. And even today, there are a large number of alumni of these schools. After leaving government service and working with Olcott and Blavatsky, he decided to change his name. He dropped his English biblical name and adopted the name Dharmapala, meaning, of course, custodian of the Dharma. In 1884, 20-year-old Dharmapala, against the wishes of his parents, accompanied Olcott to Adyar in Chennai in India. When he returned with Olcott, he left home and moved to a room at the BTS office. And that day, he adopted the name Anagarika. Anagarika, of course, means homeless, but it is not in the way we understand homeless in big cities like New York, etc. Here it means non-householder, and that was the name he adopted, Anagarika Dharmapala. His international presence happened in 1887 when Colonel Olcott accompanied him to Japan. Colonel Olcott was invited to Japan to unify various Buddhist sects that were there. Now, after his mission, Olcott returned to Sri Lanka, but Dharmapala fell ill and he was kept in a hospital in Kyoto. He was suffering from rheumatic fever. Lot of people heard about this young leader, and they visited him in the hospital and established a very close relationship with the Buddhist leaders there. Now this paved the way for Buddhist Sri Lanka and Buddhist Japan to unite. 1,500 years after Parinibbana, Buddhism was the major belief system in Southeast Asia. But while it flourished in all other countries, in India, Buddhism declined for various reasons, including the Mughal invasions. So, by the 19th century, Buddhism has completely disappeared from India, the land of its birth, except for a very small community in East Bengal. 1886. Sir Edwin Arnold, the well-known author of Light of Asia and a Buddhist sympathizer, visited Buddha Gaya. He was very happy that he was inside the chamber near the place where Buddha attained enlightenment. But he was very sad to see the neglected state of the place. After returning to London, he wrote a series of articles to the London Daily Telegraph, of which he had been the editor earlier. And because of that, these articles were given very wide prominence in the news media. In this, he described how neglected Buddha Gaya is. Anagarika Dharmapala happened to read this and decided to go to Buddha Gaya. In 1891, he, accompanied by his Japanese friend Kosen Gunraddatero, went to Buddha Gaya. They actually went in a cart from Gaya to Buddha Gaya. And they saw on the way so many statues of the Buddha spread and scattered all over the place. When he came to Buddha Gaya, he found that the Mahabodhi Vihara was in charge of a Brahmin priest. He had converted a Buddha statue to a Hindu icon, and Buddhists were not allowed to worship there. Dharmapala went behind the Vihara, and under the Bodhi tree, he went near the Vajrasana, the diamond throne, actually where Buddha sat on a sandstone slab when he attained enlightenment. And this is how he recalled the thoughts that came to his mind. He says in his diary, as soon as I touched with my forehead the Vajrasana, a sudden impulse came to my mind to stop here and take care of this sacred spot. So sacred that nothing in the world is equal to this place where Prince Sakya Singha attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. He returned to Colombo and then established what was called then Buddha Gaya Mahabodhi Society, which later came to be Mahabodhi Society. And next year, in 1892, Mahabodhi Society moved to Calcutta, where the headquarters was established. And that year, he filed action in courts for Buddhists to take control of Buddha Gaya. This went on for a very long time, and 2 years after his death, in 1935, the Bihar Parliament passed the Buddha Gaya Act, which gave equal rights to Buddhists for the control of Buddha Gaya.